here we are in our garage, and we have another fucking gray car, another gray car. So I think we've been talking about it for a while, but I finally got a Cayman in addition to the Elantra. Basically, I'm working with Nick from Tuning by Nick. I'm doing all the electronics for the K-swap stuff, which at this point is done. But yeah, so basically we're making a K24 swap kit for the transverse cars, so the mid-engine ones, which will mount the engine transversely, and then the 911s, the 996, the 997, that stuff's already for sale, by the way. So I got a 2007 Cayman S. It's got 63,000 miles on it. It was like 26,700, something like that. It was kind of a weird like option pack, I guess. Like it has the quote unquote like leather interior. It has bi-xenons, that was an option. No sport chrono.
What is sport chrono?
So sport chrono is like, it's their performance pack, but it didn't give you anything really hardware-wise different. The stability control, you can turn traction control off. Stability control is not fully defeatable. It's called PSM, Porsche Stability Management. If you have Sport Chrono, it allows you to yaw the car out a lot more, right? So you're able to get a lot more slip angle before it actually like cuts in. We have the ability to defeat that with our like Link K24 stuff, but you also can keep it too if you want to, which is really cool. But that stuff is addable, which is really nice. I'm gonna try to reverse engineer all that stuff to be able to just like code it via like raw hex instead of like having the dealership tool and all that stuff, which we have, by the way. But yeah, I'll figure that out for the community because it's definitely possible because I've already figured out like what bit and byte it is. And yeah, I'm trying to think any other like specialties of the car. Not really. It was definitely owned by an old guy. You can see there's a PCA sticker.
Oh, the Porsche Club of America.
Yeah. So you can know for a fact that it was never driven hard. I've never seen a fast PCA guy in my life. So yeah, probably was never barely like driven at watt. It probably, you know, he probably owned it and just like went like 50% throttle.
Pretty peppy.
Pretty peppy. And then that's like it.
Always buy from old people.
Yeah.
If you can, it's the best thing in the world. It's funny. So this looks the identical paint to my 370Z. And there's actually a lot of kind of similarities between this and my 370 in terms of like when they came out, they were kind of competitors, weirdly enough.
Yeah, I mean, they were both 6-cylinder, rear-wheel drive, sports coupes with similar dimensions. Like, I mean, you go through the list, like it's basically like damn near identical. Yeah. There was the Z, and then the BMW Z4M. Those were like your main, I guess, sports coupes that weren't Corvettes. The car is in pretty good condition, and I think the plan for the car, at least for the summer, just run it as is. We're obviously gonna modify it, like no way around that. But I'm trying to, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't at least like get the Porsche experience too, to see what I'm also taking away from people, right? I'm gonna just drive it with the original engine. I'm probably not gonna track it too much. I might do like an instructor session every once in a while, but don't want to blow it up. They blow up. there's no way around it. And it's not even the IMS issues, those aren't a thing really. It's oiling.
Yeah, because this is a boxer motor.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's completely sideways like a Subaru.
Yes, when the engine is 5 feet fucking wide and your oil is down here and your G load goes that way or that way, tends to be pretty hard. And so the issue, same with the FA20, FA24, which they kind of fix. I don't know if there's some good videos out there. Basically the oil will not drain down fast enough from the heads back to the sump, and so then the sump gets air and it aerates and you don't have oil, right?
Cool. Well, what are we doing today?
Yeah, well, on that, we're gonna experience Porsche life by making it so I can actually hear the engine. So anyway, so there's a really good exhaust company. People seem to love it, and like the weld quality is good. It seems really good. We got a Circuit Werks exhaust. It is technically a catback, but you got to realize the whole.
Yeah,
the engine's here. It's not much. The catback is the whole exhaust really. So other than the headers, which have integrated cats, that everything else is basically going from here on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it seems like a good system. It was about $350 like shipped. That's stainless steel with good weld quality, and people seem to really love it. So I'm just gonna start to take stuff off, start to get some components off. One right here, okay. One right here, which holding the tips on, okay. And then one right here. Once you do that and you're able to lower it down, you can see there's
2 bolts. I assume they're the same 15 mil. That is holding that, yeah, that like merger. Yeah. All right, those will split when we need it to. Cool. Okay, so now let's take a look at what we got going on down, you know.
Yep, so there's the muffler right there. You just follow this back, keep going back, and then flange is right there. You can see through the control arm.
Oh, that's so close. I can see light. Oh, yeah. Okay. Woo. Okay. Woof.
Holy, it even sounded heavy when you
It's quite the piece, I'm not gonna lie. Jeez, I don't even know if I have the fucking strength to like one-man it over the controller. Woof. Oh my God. Wow.
That's crazy.
That's one side of it too. Jesus fuck. Yeah, that's a lot.
All right, so it is another day. We ended up calling it. It was getting dark. I had to go to a St. Patrick's Day party, ironically, St. Patty. So I'm on my way back to Will's, got a couple tools, and yeah, we're gonna bang this out real quick. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have seen my daily. It's a 2006 Jeep Grand Cherokee. I'm just driving this for a little bit. It's actually my sister's first car, I think. So it's been around the family a lot, and I'm just kind of borrowing it for a little bit. It's pretty nice.
We had to go because we were both getting some girlfriend aggro. I took the advantage of the car being in here to put it on jack stands. I actually already did the spark plugs. So yeah, there is again the 3 13 mil bolts here, the flange. Like basically it works out in this bend here, so no problem at all. Yeah. And then there's a couple of 13 mil nuts and bolts. It actually goes on the other side as well, here, for the mounts for this. And I believe this one is 13 as well. So we just take off all this stuff. That's like the only thing left that's supporting the sides of the exhaust up after you get the flange off. Okay, and that should be the last thing that holds, and the bracket, that holds the muffler on, so you can kind of just slide her through, up and out. Okay. All right, and then it's pretty easy to not get them mixed up because 3-bolt flange, 2-bolt flange. It came with hardware. I'm not a huge fan of like these style gaskets. I'm just gonna reuse the OEM ones. They're like the nice metallic ones. They are, I mean, in really good condition in my car, so that's
Might as well.
yeah, not an issue.
Okay, so it's been a second. We tightened everything up and we ran into kind of one slight issue. So I'm gonna kind of walk you through how we solved it. Okay, so we are under the car right now. And if you look there, there's the muffler. And it goes back right into this flange connection and then back into the engine bay. So with the hanger, it was a little bit tough to get it to fit up properly. So to get it to sit correctly, basically you want to have this flange completely loose, so it gives you enough wiggle room to get the exhaust hanger on. And once it's on, then you can tighten this down. But leave that loose, do this first. It's a little bit difficult to see, but Will actually ended up making a spacer. It's that black section between the two hangers. This helps it sit a little bit more flush, but wasn't exactly needed. It's just a little bit something to make it look nice.
I can't shift it hard because it'll explode.
So for reference, our father actually had one of these cars, and I guess he was just shifting it, and the shifter cables exploded and left him stranded.
They have a big issue with shifter cables, so you have to get like the numeric ones. So you just can't shift it fast. It's a pretty big problem.
It does sound interesting with the engine like
right there, like 5 inches
you,
away from you. Yeah.
It's kind of cool. I like it.
Yeah, I think I hear a slight rattle, and again, I guess for clarity, guys, we think that we may have a slight exhaust leak too, but Patrick has to go, and it's kind of like snowing anyways a little bit, so we figured we'd go for a drive anyways. I'll get it fixed eventually. It's exhaust.
Yeah.
But we did like hard mounted to the chassis, so that was kind of our bad.
Not bad.
That's pretty good.
Not bad. It's not super like droney.
It's got some fucking burbles though.
It does have burbles.
Oh, there's such an exhaust leak.
Yeah, there is.
Oh yeah, that's a really bad exhaust.
It's pretty. It's leaking pretty good.
Oof. So I felt that was down on power a little bit too.
One half of the car sounded good.
Cool. It just like only like 72. They explode if you take it up that high.
There's a common trend of these exploding.
You can't do it. You can't shift it. If you shift it, it blows up. If you drive it, it blows up. See the slow. Gotta do slow shifting.
I mean, it does sound good though.
Sounds fucking good, minus the leak.
Once that leak's gone, it's gonna sound good.
It's gonna sound fucking great. Yeah.
Nice.
It rips pretty
good.
Not gonna lie, it rips pretty fucking good for an OE car.
Yeah. Oh, it was quick.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's mostly exhaust leak right now, but you can tell it's gonna be fucking good.
Yeah.